these are the different types of headaches. You have primary headaches and secondary headache. A primary headache are headaches like tension headaches, migraine headaches, and what we call cluster headaches. Okay? Then we have secondary headaches. Secondary headaches are headaches that are caused not from the head. Okay? They have their cause outside the head, like having neck trauma, medication overuse, and cervicogenic pain. Cervicogenic is a big fancy word. It just means originating from the neck. Okay? So primaries, and this is what we need to get from this particular slide. A primary headache has its source in the head. A secondary headache has its source not in the head. Okay? Tension, migraine, cluster for primaries, trauma, medication, and cervicogenic for secondaries. And we're gonna look at that in this diagram as well. Okay? So primary headaches, again, things like tension, migraine, and cluster, their source is in the head. Okay? Typically a migraine headache, and you probably know this from suffering migraines, is migraine is a vascular headache. So the cause for migraine is vascular, it's the blood vessels. Okay? A cause for tension is a muscle, and you've heard of muscle tension, so the muscle is the cause for your headache. And then finally, cluster has a neurological origin. Okay, it's a nerve type of pain. The secondary headaches, again, the source is not in the head, and those can be things like a structure in the neck, like a joint, a vertebra, or a muscle. It could be a trigger point, like in the shoulder. It could be that you have a tooth infection that's giving you a headache. It could be a sinus infection. It could be a deviated septum in your nose. It's not allowing you to breathe properly. It could be an ear infection. So what I want to really help you to understand here is you got two different major classes there. You've got a primary headache and a secondary headache. Make sense? So a primary headache, where is the source? You can, don't cheat. Where is the source for a primary headache? In the head. And a secondary headache? Not in the head. Okay, that's pretty easy. Okay? Now what we'll do is we'll look at each type of headache. So you have a tension headache. Now, tension headaches are the most common of all headaches. Okay? Over 90% of adults will experience tension type headaches or are currently having a tension type headache. And that they are defined by their frequency. So when we define a tension type headache, as we'll do as we go along with the workshop tonight, you'll see that it's defined by its frequency. So for example, you can have an infrequent headache, tension type headache, that's less than one or less headaches per month, or 12 per year. Frequent is between 12 and 180. And don't ask me why they described it that way. Between 12 and 180, that's like a big difference, but they call that frequent. And then chronic is anything over 15 per month or 180 per year. So those are tension types. Migraines, I think you were describing that you sometimes experience migraines. Second most of the primaries, tension is number one, migraines are number two. It is estimated that over 28 million Americans suffers from migraines, and that this is important, and you might be experiencing this, that what they find is that for families that have migraine type headaches, they experience a 70% increase in their medical bills. And those medical bills are due to medications. Okay? Cluster headaches, very, very uncommon, but again, the source is neurological. And it's characterized by intense pain that's clustered around a period of time. So that's why they call it a cluster headache. And again, neurological in nature. They call it the suicide headache, believe it or not, because the pain is so intense. And fortunately, it affects less than 1%. It makes up less than, we'll cut that out. Fortunately, it makes up less than 1% of all headaches. Cervicogenic. Now, we talked about cervicogenic. Cervical spine means cervical. Genic means origin of pain. So cervicogenic is pain originated from the neck. And they're 14% of all the headaches. And what's interesting here is Nikolai Bogdach, who's an MD, PhD professor, talks about the fact that the concept that headache pain can emanate from the cervical spine is not very well known to the medical profession. And we're going to talk about that knowledge gap and how it's led to things like medication overuse and those types of things. Okay?